To issue 26 of my review of Warhammer Conquest, where I'll be reviewing issue 26. No plastic crack on this one. It's always a bit sad when you don't get the cool models, but what you do get tends to be reasonable. What we do have is Broken Flesh Shade, which is actually a very nice wash, and a top up on the Abaddon Black, which you'll probably need by now if you've been painting the models as they suggest. You might not, but yeah, you're probably looking at getting a top up and that. If you're a beginner, you're probably using a lot of paint, which you always do when you first start. You use more paint and then you learn how to make it last a little bit longer. Price wise, these are about $250 to $270, depending on whether or not your shop's been hit by the price hikes yet. And these are about $450 to $470, again depending on whether your shop's been hit by the 20p price hikes yet. I say price hikes, legitimate price rises, which aren't really that much, to be honest. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 40? Yeah. When you include the magazine, you're still getting your money's worth, but this is probably one of the least value for money issues we've had so far. But in all fairness, like I say, that's if you're just counting. Oops, sorry, I just knocked that. If you're just counting what you're getting here, but you have to add to that the fact that you are getting a magazine with it, and whilst these magazines aren't the thickest, they're probably worth about £2 of anyone's money, maybe 3 or 4. I've seen a lot of thinner magazines be charged at £3 or £4, so you're still getting your money's worth. And you do have to count the fact that you're getting a lot of stuff across the series as well. So some issues you're getting a ton of extra value for money, other issues not so much, and it does balance out across the whole series. And you also have to kind of count the fact that if you're anything like me, you can't collect issue 1, 2, and then 4, and then 5, 6, and then 8. You have to get the whole lot, because missing issues would be wrong. But let's get on to the magazine. Again, the mighty Ian has signed it for us, so that we know it's a legitimate piece of work. As we've been seeing with the non-model ones, they've been taking a bit more liberty, going a bit more in depth into stuff that isn't Death Guard or isn't Primaris. We've got the Age of the Imperium, which is when the Imperium began to expand. Sorry, no, that's not true. Yeah, that's when the Imperium began to be the Imperium rather than the Great Crusades, which was where the Imperium was expanding. This is just after the Horus Heresy, and it goes through that. It goes through the Scouring. Basically, Scouring was wiping out everybody who was a traitor, whether they were Chaos aligned or just misinformed. And you've got to remember, not everybody who betrayed the Emperor even knew they were betraying the Emperor. The War Master, Horus, was the Emperor's... So I'm just going to straighten the camera up. Was the Emperor's official voice of authority. So a lot of people, when commanded by Horus to do things, just assumed it was the Emperor telling them to do things. Even when it came down to, this is your new religion, you must worship these gods, was assuming that these were the gods that the Emperor had told them to worship. So, you've got guys that either knew nothing about Chaos and thought they were just loyal citizens of the Imperium getting wiped out, or guys that had been tricked into worshipping Chaos and thought that they were... Sorry, the camera's been knocked, I'm just going to straighten it. That they were doing the legitimate thing, they were doing the right thing. However, being as there's no way to really tell the difference between somebody who betrayed you by accident and somebody who betrayed you on purpose, the Scouring just involves wiping out almost all of them. It is worth noting as well, the Scouring, not 100% effective. There are still worlds out there loyal to the War Master who think the war's still going on. Loyalist forces led mostly by the Ultramarines and the Space Wolves, drove the Saurian traitors back. Large number of enemy enemies were purged in the galaxy, but the traitors were many, including thousands of fallen army remnants and giant starfleets and whole Titan legions. So it does incorporate the fact that a ton of things were killed, but not everything, and some of it was just driven back to the Eye of Chaos. Covers the Xenos Rising, which is basically where the Imperium was fighting on itself. All the things that they've been oppressing, all the multitude of enemies that they fought and beaten, took the opportunity to rise back. The Forging of the Imperium, Nova Terra Interregnum, Time of the Two Emperors. Nova means new as well as star. Yeah, it's when the Segmented Pacificus, which is one of the segments of the Imperium, went, we're our own empire now. No emperor, no bollocks. But there you go. You've got a beautiful picture of Horus crushing a planet there. If only he was so effective. Not Horus, sorry, Abaddon. Crushing a planet there. Anyway, is that Abaddon or is that Horus? The Great Rift, yeah, that's Abaddon. The Great Rift was caused by Abaddon the Spoiler, Marshal of the Black Legion. The Cicatrix Maledictum, which is the huge tear. For those of you new to the game, you've got the Great Rift across the galaxy, which basically cuts the galaxy in two. Prior to that, it was just a massive warstorm called the Eye of Terror, which was huge. But for the past, 20, 30 years? Anyway, I was 8 when I started, been going a little bit before then, so yeah, past 20, 25 years-ish. It was just the Eye of Terror, and it's only the past few years that we've got this Great Rift, and the story's really advanced. We've got some of the cool superheroes like Maxie, come here. You say hello. You say hello. Okay, go in. He's off. Yeah, we've had the advance of the story. I love you. Being silly. We've had the advance of the story. My niece is round, and my little boy and my niece are having fun. As children do. There's a new definition of the word fun. Anyway, prior to that, Guilliman wasn't around. The Demon Princes were around, but they didn't really take the field that often. It's a lot more action-packed nowadays. There's a lot more cool stuff. But this explains how Abaddon, how all of Abaddon's 12 other Great Black Crusades were really failures for a reason. He totally meant to do that. Sorry for the inverted commas, but it's kind of cool. Basically, there are 13 Black Crusades, because 13 is a cool number, but they needed a reason why 13 Black Crusades hadn't worked. If Abaddon's so badass, if Abaddon's so amazing, how come he's failed 12 times and it's only the 13th time that he's been successful? The slightly retconned backstory is that he didn't fail, he just had specific mission objectives that were going to culminate in the 13th Black Crusade, and this was it. And because he couldn't risk people knowing what those objectives were, in case they tried to undo them, he literally had to disguise them in massive world-spanning, galaxy-spanning crusades, where each crusade only had one objective, and that might have been a relatively small thing, or something involving only one planet, or one city, or one ritual. But each one of those was a necessary piece to basically smashing the Eye of Terror open and spreading it across the galaxy in an attempt to basically forward the Chaos Gods thing. And I think primarily that's just because the Imperium was too big, and what this plan is just to cut the Imperium into more manageable bite sizes. So you've got the main Imperium where Guilliman is, where Earth is, and then you've got the Imperium Nihilus, which is the Dark Imperium, which is the bit where cut off from the Necronomicon, cut off from the support. There are ways through it, but it's really difficult to maintain, and that's the side that Chaos are probably focusing on having an advantage on. Then we move on to Great Unclean Ones. We're focusing a lot on Nurgle demons, as you could imagine, and general chaos. I'm sure in some of the later episodes they'll be covering other creatures from other chaos powers, you know, like the Lords of Change and the Bloodthirsters and that. But the Great Unclean Ones are basically the mega demons of Nurgle. They come in multiple sizes. You can see that one is, you know, the size of a large Imperial Knight. Some Great Unclean ones are just maybe 1.5 times a Primarch. Others are Titan killers. You know, they go in, you know, they're facing Titans and Gargants and things like that. It really depends on the individual demon, and each Great Unclean one is an individual and unique thing. Each Chaos Demon is an individual and unique thing. They're primarily divided into sort of like ranks, you know, like Unclean Ones, Plague Bearers, Beasts of Nurgle, Nurglings, for ease of gaming, basically. You know, each Great Unclean one has a set of rules, but there are lots of things to personalise your Great Unclean ones, and each Great Unclean one is a unique person. Usually quite jolly. That was my son. But it goes into what they are here. And further hits, excuse me, I'm just going to pause this. Sorry about that. They're just having fun in the garden. And apparently standing an inch away from each other, just screaming loudly and seeing which one can be the loudest is fun. Yeah, but it goes on to describe greater demons of Nurgle and what they do. And then it goes on to describe a few particularly badass demons. Then it runs into the Death Guard Possessed. Each Chaos Legion, Chaos Army has a few Marines that decide they want to let themselves be possessed by demons. The reason for this is demons are not of this realm, so it's actually hard for them to materialise as a form in this realm. It takes a lot of energy. It's a lot easier to borrow a body from someone else and just inhabit it for a second. Very insane. Yeah, I'd say it's just a lot easier to possess. Sorry, I keep that break up. I'm doing it during the day because I've got work tonight, so I'm not going to be able to do it tonight. You'll find a lot of these, you know, it's light, it's dark in the background. It's because of when I get the time to do it. But yeah, it's often a lot easier for various level demons to possess bodies and use those. It's why you get a lot of twisted cultists, but it's also why you get the possessed. There are generic possessed, but here this one's going through the possessed of the Death Guard and how Nurgle demons work with them. Here we can see, looks like an Emperor's Child with the purple, but you can't really tell. Here you can see another sort of more generic possessed. It tells you how possession works, what the gifts. I like to by gifts, I mean what strengths, what weaknesses, what stuff the demon brings to the party. It's worth noting that the Galvatorix, or the Galvabacks, the original possessed, that came from the Wordbearers Legion, actually have a lot different relationship with their demons. It's kind of a 50-50 thing, whereas a lot of the newer possessed was the demon will act to a certain extent as if it were the Marine, and the demon will remember the Marine's memories, and that will affect his personality and things like that. A lot of the newer possessed just literally reach in, destroy the Marine inside and take control of his body. So it's a completely different thing. Now, some Marines think it's going to be this joint thing. Others are fully aware they're getting wiped out, but they're doing it for their cause, and they believe that, you know, because they believe, basically. So it really depends. It also goes into how demonic possession is reasonably uncommon among Death Guard, but it's a lot more common in other things. But yeah, so it's basically running around the whole things of possession. Then we've got Robot Gilliman, or Robout Gilliman, or Robout Gilliman, or however you want to pronounce it, who is, at this point, the new de facto Emperor. He's not the Emperor because the Emperor's dead, but he's basically doing everything the Emperor would do. He's shiny, he's got flaming swords. Basically, he's come back from being massively injured into the fray. He is still actually significantly injured. It's worth noting he's not completely well. If you read the stories, the new armour he's wearing is keeping him alive, and it has a few downsides. For example, he doesn't sleep because the armour keeps him going 24/7, which knackers him out. It's got it basically goes through who he is, what he's returned, and stuff like that. Sorry, I just got distracted there. Yeah, the new armour he's in is what's keeping him alive. It's a life support system, so he's not 100% better. In theory, because he's a Primarch, his body is going to keep healing. It's just going to do it very slowly because the wound is not it's not a natural wound. He was run through fighting Chaos and fighting one of his brothers. It goes on about what's happened to the Imperium since he's been there, what he's done to the Imperium, and what he's doing to the Imperium. Then we've got, and again, I'm loving, what I say, you're not getting as much cool stuff on the front cover when you're getting these non-specific ones where it's not a bit of Death Guard stuff or a bit of Primaris stuff. We're getting a lot of cool bits and pieces like that. We've got a segment here on the Blood Angels, where they're from, who they are, how awesome they are, even how they get turned into Blood Angels, and some of their stuff there. So that's really cool. Some of the colour schemes and helmet patterns here. You can see that the Battle Line brothers have a red helm. Blue is for fire support. You've got sort of copper, gold for command and veteran, and then yellow is for close support. Obviously, they couldn't use the same patterns as Ultramarines because how are we then? Same patterns as Ultramarines because red helmets mean sergeants and Ultramarines, and the blue helmet means normal guys, and their whole armour is red, and all their helmets are red. It's worth noting. It's actually worth noting that red helmets in Ultramarines used to actually mean you'd done something wrong. It was like the equivalent of a dunce hat. It was only during the battles over Ultramar and over the Ultramarine homeworlds against the Wordbearer Legion that some of the tactics used by certain, basically red helmeted naughty Marines proved effective because they were used to using deviating from orders and deviating from tactics, and a lot of that was the red was essentially saying, look, this guy doesn't follow orders as properly, doesn't really do it the way we do things. You need to keep an eye on him and make sure he folds in, because the Wordbearers knew the Ultramarines so intimately. The Ultramarines had to adapt their tactics, and all of a sudden they were relying on these far out these guys who didn't follow, these guys who really had trouble obeying orders and kept wanting to do things their own way, who'd been basically censored with red helmets. They were relying on them for new tactics and new ideas, and to know when to follow and when to break with Ultramarine battle doctrine. So again, Robert Gilliman literally went, right, everyone who's got a red helmet, they're a sergeant now, you follow them. The other rings are like, what? So, our stuff's not going to work. Follow the wackos. Obviously, that has to, those colour schemes and colour things wouldn't work. So the Blood Angels, being a unique legion, use their own colour schemes and their own things. So you've got that cool stuff there. You've also got a bit here about the Death Guard. A lot of the Blood Angel lore is very Christian, but it's more like Eastern Orthodox Christian, more like the stuff you find around Vlad the Impaler, involving drinking the blood of Christ and things like that, and also folded in heavily with vampiric lore, up to and including the fact that the Blood Angels drink blood, and that's built into all Marines, including the Primaris. By drinking blood or eating the flesh, you can analyse the genetics of your enemies, and it tells them the strengths, the weaknesses, supposedly even if the brains of the enemies, they can analyse their memories and learn things like that. How exactly that works with so many alien species, I don't know, but I mean, to be fair, it's actually no more far out than analysing the genetics of an alien species, because genetic code is how things work on Earth. There's no reason to think an alien species would have anything close to a genetic code. But the Blood Angels in particular do a lot of blood drinking and a lot of stuff like that. And since the death of their Primarch, at the hands of Horus in the battle over Terra. Some of them just went completely off into blood frenzies where all they want to do is fight, kill and drink blood. Those guys are called the Death Guard. Each legion, each chapter and each subsequent founded chapter based on those chapters usually has a weakness. The Space Wolves turn into the Wolfen if they're not careful. The Blood Angels turn into ravening madmen if they're not careful. The Ultramarines are actually considered to be better because they don't have a specific weakness. That being said, they don't have a specific strength either. They don't have the advantage of Death Company. They don't have the advantage of Wolfen or any of the weirder things. So it's a mixed bag. One of the reasons Ultramarines are used more than others, and Dark Angels were used until people thought they were empire building, was because they don't have as many of these problems. And one of the reasons the Primaris were created was to try and stabilise these problems. And to a certain extent it has, but you do still get Death Guard. You do still get a few guys that break down, and supposedly this is down to the psychic resonance of their Primarch being killed at the hands of his own brother, the feeling of devastation, loss and treason. Basically just drives them nuts to the point where they can't think of anything other than ripping people to pieces. Which is, again, it's another really interesting thing about Blood Angels. They're one of my favourite chapters lore-wise. Then we're going into how to use your new Royal and Fresh shade, which is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of you will have painted the base level of your guys. Now you put the Royal and Fresh shade in, and you can see that. Unlike some of the other washes, which are basically the same colour as you paint a bit darker, Royal Fresh shades actually, whilst it is a pinky red, and you have got some pinkiness there, it is different to it, and it does work with it, and it basically more brings out the stuff, more brings out the bits and pieces, so you can see what's going on, and so you can see the differences. Where the skin's darker, where the skin's more ruddy, things like that. Mostly because skin is a lot of different colours. One of the reasons skin is quite hard to paint compared to, for example, the stuff you've run over these guys, where you've run over bits and pieces with similar colours. The skin you're running over a very different colour, not very different colour, but a colour that has more difference to it, meaning you get a lot more details and a lot more depth to it, and a lot more shadow. So that's really quite cool. It's pink, but it's not quite pink. So if I can show you there. I'm just going to put some on my fingers so you can literally see. You can see there. It isn't, so I'm just putting my hand to make it force of focus. It isn't bad, but at the same time, it's significantly different from the flesh tone you've used. Rather than, for example, if you were to run Collier green shade over the Death Guard thing, you've got two shades of green that can match up. These ones, the point of it is to really be a little bit different, so it brings up a lot of the details in a lot more obvious way. Part of that is because the face is a smaller part of the model, and because you really want to see those expressions and you really want to see the differences and what's happening on there. But basically it runs over how to do that, it runs over where you want to paint and stuff like that, which is cool. You've got a new thing, which again, part of the campaign ideology they've been running since we got the new mats out. Finding Felthius. You'll remember Felthius is one of the characters from one of the previous issues. So you've got your first mission, which is Recon Assault. You've got your guys, your lists, what you want to be bringing, what your victory conditions are. This one uses 2 units of 3 Reavers, and on the Death Guard side you've got 3 Plague Marines and 6 Poxwalkers. So already you're using bigger model numbers. You're dividing them up and you're using them more in units and more in unit battles than you would have previously, which is nice. And then we've got the second mission, Sever the Head, which is cool. And for this one, your army is again much bigger. It's worth noting that they're really dividing the models into the missions into small missions designed to help teach you rules, and designed to be quick and fun, and larger missions designed to let you use those armies. The second mission here, we've got the armies of 5 Plague Marines, Foulblight Spawn, 12 Poxwalkers, Lord Felthius, and the Tainted Cohorts. That's quite a big model count there, or at least compared to what we've previously done. And then on the Space Marines, you've got 5 Intercessors, the Redemptor Dreadnought, which we've just completed last week, so that's something you look forward to working with. 3 Aggressors, 5 Reavers, and Lieutenant Calcius. So that's quite cool as well. And again, you've got a nice different deployment zone with the Ultramarine, well, with your Primaris deploying around the outside and your Death Guard deploying on the inside. Now, yeah, your Ultramarines, if you're using Lieutenant Calcius as an Ultramarine character, even if you decide to paint your guys up different for this mission, they're Ultramarines. Again, on the back, the standard guidance, community, exploration. And then the last page, which I know a lot of you look forward to, pretty much running in line with what we thought last week. We've got issue 27, build your Rhino, then issue 28, paint your Rhino. Being as it's not showing any paints on issue 28, and it's not showing any colours on the Rhino that I don't think we already have. I don't think we already have. It's not showing any new colours. It doesn't specifically say it, but oh yes, it does. Here you go. On the thing it says complete your Rhino. So 27 and 28 are going to be the Chaos Rhino. So tune in for those. But be aware, it'll be issue 28 that I'll be giving away the entire Rhino build. I'll be waiting until the complete thing, because otherwise I'll end up losing the address or something. Best to, wait, do it all, the complete thing, and then by issue 29 you'll know who's getting an entire Rhino, so that'll be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that, and I hope you guys are too. Sorry, a lot of distractions. Hope you guys enjoyed this, hope it wasn't too wacky, and look forward to seeing you next week. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. Not sure why, but I am. So if you like it, see me there, and please tell your friends. Thanks very much. Bye.